Now you're welcome along to the Maroon and White pod. I'm delighted today to be joined by TJ Ryan to look back on Loughrea's victory over Slaughtneil, which sees Loughrea advance into the All-Ireland final against Ballygunner of Waterford. Loughrea ran out 222 to 15-point winners over Slaughtneil. TJ, before we do that, obviously David Burke, a man you coached at club level. I think the whole country has really appreciated what David Burke has done in the last decade, really, and what he gave to Galway.
100%. Hi, Paul. Happy Christmas, first of all. Yeah, we're kind of wound down now from a work point of view, so we can relax and talk about these things. But look, David Burke needs no introduction from me in terms of what he's done with his Galway career and his St. Thomas's career. A pleasure to work with him. I'm delighted to have been up there for a couple of years with him in St. Thomas's when you got to see him up close and personal. A brilliant guy, first of all, and a super hurler. As good as, like, I've just got on paper, I said, as good a midfielder as I can remember ever in the game. And I think one of Galway's greatest players. Yeah, like he was a box to box player, covered a lot of ground, proper athlete, scoring. And I suppose, look, capped it all in 2017. That All Ireland final performance, being captain, like that just was vintage David Burke.
I think everyone, the way they've been talking about him in the last few days, just seemed to be a player that does the talking on the pitch.
100%, and that's what you got to do. Um, and he did it day in, day out. And I think even in St. Thomas's, as such, they all would say that David Burke turns up in the big day all the time. He always did for Galway, always did it for St. Thomas's. And as I said, from my own personal point of view, it's just a pleasure to be involved with players like that because they're generational players. And I think from Galway's point of view, they need to find the next David Burke because he's kind of carried them for a long period of time, and they just need. And I think maybe those new leaders might be emerging. We'll probably talk about one of them in a while, but yeah, he himself and Joe Canning have been real driving force in that All Ireland final win. And I know for David himself personally to bring, let's say, Liam McCarthy back to St. Thomas's clubhouse is a particular highlight for him. Like, and what an achievement! But as I said, just a key player for that team as well.
It probably comes down to himself and Joe as the greatest, really, doesn't it?
It does, and as I said, when you're in that bracket, and like we can all talk about, let's say, the achievements of both of them, like two fantastic players, um, and two good friends as well. Just did it for Galway day in day out, and as I said, yeah, for me, David Burke, I'll definitely say David Burke is the greatest midfielder Galway have ever produced. We'll probably argue until the cows come home as to who the greatest Galway player is, but he's certainly in the conversation.
Just with that, even the way he came back, I thought, because even when he got sent off against Dublin, it could have been easy to walk away then, but came back this year and gave everything to the cause. And even with new management, it would have been an easy time to walk away.
That's him though. You know, he's tough and he's like he doesn't want to leave things like, let's say, on a sending off. And like he's just been driving standards in St. Thomas's and Galway for a long period of time. And I said when you get to know him, you fully understand, let's say, the type of player and type of guy he is. So as I said, yeah, hard to replace those type of guys. And as I said, you don't come around too often. As I said, he's definitely a generational type midfielder. And like you even see there are some of the reels and some of his scores and his goals. Shaper's incredible striker of the ball. Like, yeah, just a proper hurler.
Big loss now for the Galway dressing room, isn't it?
It is because his leadership and I've referenced it before. He's the king in St. Thomas's, and like when the king calls and asks you to do something, you have to respond. And he would have been the same in the Galway dressing room. And like, yeah, no, you just don't replace these guys overnight. And it's you have to kind of look like over a period of time to say that this was an inspirational Galway hurler, player, leader. And as I said, they don't grow on trees.
Uh, I suppose talking about Loughrea then, 222 to 15-point winners. Comfortable really. Never looked like losing this game at any stage of the weekend.
No, and I fancied him, Paul. I went on the record of saying I fancied him to win with a bit to spare. I really liked what I saw of them in the quarterfinal, semi-final, and final in Galway. And even though, let's say, obviously St. Thomas, as you spoke about there, that was always going to be tough county final in Salt Hill, and it was only a 1 point, but they just hurled so well and kind of created so many chances in difficult conditions in Salt Hill. I liked their forward line. I actually like probably would have said maybe without Darren Shaughnessy that it would have been a bit of a
Mm.
loss for them, but they just coped really, really well. Um, and I just like the way they go. I like the way they score, and just a real solid spine. Let's say from Johnny Cohen leading it, Shane Morgan, the Killeens, Anthony Burns is a real quality corner forward now. Jamie Ryan does what he does exceptionally well. Martin McMahon coming back, chipping like it's a big plus for them as well. Like so, to me, they have as good a club forward as in the country.
Yeah, the way they shut down Brendan Rodgers at the weekend, really impressive.
Really impressive as well. Yeah, just play to their own strengths and just learned. As I said, they probably were a little unfortunate with Nafina because they had hurled really, really well the previous year after winning the first county. And when you win the first county, like obviously you're in bonus territory, but just as I said, they weren't far away. And this time around, I know it was, let's say, it was a 7 weeks of a gap between the county final, but I knew that after winning the second county that there was a bit of unfinished business there, and they prepared well, and their manager speaks well, and they have a good coaching team there. Like, and they're look, you can see how they play, and you know, maybe you could, if you're maybe pick out even though they score 222, maybe their accuracy, maybe in the first half, maybe just one couple, they need maybe them to all stick, or maybe definitely have a better percentage return in an Ireland final. But I just like the forwards and I like the way they move.
Yeah, it did feel even the first half they did so much hurling and you were sort of wondering were they fair enough ahead, but in fairness then the efficiency was just completely different in the second half.
Completely different, yeah. So once they get that efficiency piece sorted, and I think they will and they can, I think they're going to be a real force in the final. But that exact piece there, 189 points at halftime, you'd like it maybe, given the amount of hurling they had done, it was probably freeze and stuff that was keeping Slaughtneil in it. Like they probably would have been happy enough maybe to go in 2 points down at halftime because they hadn't really been much in the game. But like once the second half started, Loughrea up the ante, Tiernan and Colleen landed a beauty there from the sideline, and they kicked on from there, and it's such a just round convincing winners.
It had me thinking coming away from Parnell Park at the weekend, Tiernan Knight particularly, he was everywhere at centre forward for Loughrea and everything that was good about him. Loughrea, Tiernan Killeen nearly was getting a touch in every play. We seen Tiernan Killeen would go and he played 10 or 12 and was sort of a different role, sort of working wing forward. But is that 11 role now something Galway need to maybe, I suppose, build their play around Tiernan Killeen now at 11?
Yes, for me, and I like him. I've been probably watching him for a good couple of years now, and in the modern intercounty game, you need a couple of years apprenticeship or under your belt to play and to try and maybe become, let's say, that type of leader. Like, is he a potential replacement for a David Burke? I like the way he goes about his business and he plays. I'm not saying he's anywhere in that bracket yet, but for me, he's a potential that could be. He could be a future leader for that midfield centre forward role. And the way Galway team is at the moment, they maybe need a structure about them, and maybe this could be a very good starting point in nailing your colours to mast and say you're going to be Galway number 11 for the next couple of seasons, and let's build it around you.
Yeah, the way they took the goals, Anthony Burns in the first half, but Vince Morgan was some finish, wasn't it?
Vince Morrow was an incredible finish. Yeah, Anthony Burns is a constant threat inside. He's looking like he's got goal on his mind. He's got a good number of scores all year. He's had a couple of great, like county final. He was excellent as well. But yeah, like that, there's a threat on that inside forward line. Actually, Darren Shaughnessy, like, is he going to be available for the final? Like, I didn't hear what's in terms of how long he's going to be out.
Yeah, I haven't heard it's anything too serious.
Yeah.
Now there's probably a bit of a headache there now for
I was
the
going to say yes,
management.
they have a
Yeah,
decision to make, but Darren Shaughnessy plays for me. I'm not going to tell you who I leave out,
yeah.
but yeah. But no, there's a threat in that inside line. They were the same in the county final. They were unlucky. They created a couple of great chances, and Anthony Burns and hit the upright there in the second half, and the ball ricocheted miles out. Like, and he was unlucky for one of them in the first half again, like for Loughrea. So there's a real threat of goals in that inside forward line, and as I said, they put scores on the board day in day out.
We haven't talked about it yet, and there's obviously been a lot of commentary around it over the last few days. Cullen Killeen's red card at the end for, it, from what it looked like, it would look like it was a tangle with Brendan Rodgers, but it's actually very hard to see what happened because I don't think many people have really seen the footage or what happened between them. In your view, was it a red card or how do you see it?
I'm going to sit in the fence, Paul, because I was watching the game on TV and I only saw what the TG4 cameras showed. So it's very difficult to make a proper call on it. Like, it did look exactly as you explained there. That, let's say, he was going away and Brendan Rodgers pulled him back, and then you could clearly see Johnny Murphy, the referee, afterwards explaining to Tommy Kelly that there was a swing back at early. So obviously that's what he saw, what the linesman saw, and he issued a yellow card. It is very harsh in the context of the game and the time, like, right. But I suppose the referees will say if it was a striking action there and he struck back, and that's what he saw, That's the reason he gave the red card. I am expecting and assuming that they will appeal it. They will need some sort of a ground or a video for this appeal to show that maybe it only merited a yellow card or there was two of them involved, or they'll need a road or an action to see can they get him off. And he's an important player for the team. Like, he's been excellent for them. And it is exceptionally harsh to miss an All-Ireland Club final for something that they felt might have been some way innocuous. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like that Johnny was wrong, because I don't have the video footage to back it up.
Yeah, 19 years of age to miss out on an All-Ireland final, get a red card in injury time as well. It's just devastating for the young fella, isn't it?
It is. And I'd be like, if I was involved or manager of Loughrea, I'd be roaring and screaming, kind of saying, Jesus, when you just issue him a yellow card and, and get on with it. But, the rules are the rules, and the referees will say it was a striking action there. The striking action involves a red card. I have to say, I thought Johnny refereed the game quite well. There was a couple of times there when maybe a couple of players, and I don't think there was anything malicious in the game, but there was some loose hurleys and slaps to the face guard and the helmet, and some high tackles that you could say another day that if my friend Mark Landers was here, he'd be on about VAR and going to the video ref and all that kind of stuff, and you'd be kind of looking for technicalities. But I just thought in the context of the game that he was refereed quite well. He didn't get carried away with some of those tackles. He felt that they were kind of tackles were made in the right spirit, and they didn't deserve yellow red cards, which I agree with. But he did obviously for this last one. So the referee he called it. So without, let's say, firm video footage, I
Mhm.
can't say that he was wrong or he was right.
Just there, as you mentioned, firm video footage. That is going to be the massive challenge for Loughrea to overturn this, because it seems in the last year, if anyone gets a red card, it's very hard for them to turn around and be playing the next day.
Yeah, like you need, like, if you're appealing any decision, like, you need something to bring to the table. So you need something that maybe the TG4 cameras didn't pick up on. Usually, these teams now, like, the coaches like maybe high behind the goals or a different camera from a different angle on the field that they can look back on afterwards to see did they miss out on anything in terms of from a coaching aspect. But it's also very handy in situations like this that you might have a piece of video footage that might clearly show that this was nowhere near as bad as the referee thought. But without something like that, it will be difficult to get it overturned.
Yeah, it's just as you were mentioning there, if they are to miss Cullen Killeen, there's going to need to be probably a lot of reshuffling done. Maybe it's someone like Cayman Killeen goes into
Killing goes
midfield.
midfield and Darren Shaughnessy comes in. They do have a bit of depth, to be fair,
Yeah,
but at least that's a positive. But I suppose for the player himself, like, over Christmas, it's just an anxious wait. Now, I didn't hear of when the appeal will be heard or anything like that. Like, so, look, the bigger picture is it's a distraction as well, because what you
yeah,
want is you want to get focused in the final, get ready for the powerhouse that Ballygunner are, and they've been exceptionally impressive as well in their run. So you want to get this done and dusted early here, and I would imagine that that's what Tommy will be looking for from a management point of view. Like, they'll be doing their best to get him to play, and rightly so. But they'll want the decision made, because if he's not playing, they got to make a plan without it and move on. It will be very harsh on the young lad.
yeah. It's tough now around Christmas into
It is,
everything, isn't it?
because All Ireland Club finals are hard to get to. So when
Yeah.
you get to them, you want to play.
Yeah, yeah. Just even looking at the Loughrea scores of the weekend, Tiernan Cadine, 16 points, Anthony Burns 1-1, Vincent Morgan 1-1, Jamie Ryan 3 points, Neil Carey 3 points, Cayman Clean 2 points, Martin McManus 2 points, Shane Morgan 2 points, and Kieran Hanrahan and Cullen Clean 1 each. The spread's impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant spread. And Neil Carey obviously coming on and getting 3 points. As I said, there's the depth, and there's no Darren Shaughnessy name there, like, right. So that's the real positive that this Loughrea has. There's scores all around the field, and you need that in a club team now, because on any given day, let's say there is a player or two that may maybe get tied up, or let's say the opposition might try to lock them down. Let's say, like you said about Brendan Rodgers or whatever, but there's a threat in a lot of places here for Loughrea, which is one of their major pluses.
It was interesting too, I thought, how they shuffled things around and played Joe Mooney actually in the full back line at the weekend.
Yeah, well, as I said, like that's the type of things that coaches will be looking out at to see. Look, is there somebody you need to shut down here? And looking ahead to the final, like they will have them type of decisions to make as well. Because as impressive as you called out there with some of those players, I did see a screenshot this week of Desi Hutchinson's stats in his last 6 games. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
Mm.
It is off the charts. So he's a player that they will need to pinpoint to say, right, who's going to try and lock this guy down? And you know the way Ballygunner play. But whether they have somebody, let's say, nailed on already to kind of do a man-to-man on him, he will need to be marked, and say, because I just saw that he's got 5 goals and 28 points scored in these last 6 games, and I know only 7 points are from frees, like, so it's 5-21 from play in 6 games, which is phenomenal shooting, like.
We've sort of all been raving about Kieran Hanrahan in this club championship in Galway, but I think probably nationwide people began to maybe appreciate this fella because what a performance at the weekend.
What a performance, yeah. And as I said, just the two of those conversations are going to be linked because he looks like the man that's going to be given the task to kind of shut down. Yeah, I'm going really, really well, yeah. But I would say all around the field, and that's probably one of the real pluses for the Loughrea management, the coaching team, is that like all their good players are playing well. Like that's what you want when the team is going well, is you want all your key players, and then you want new names to pop up and kind of carry the mantle. And like he's certainly one of those guys that's really driving things forward.
The thing about them really, which makes them so impressive, isn't it? They can mix it between short and long, really. Like they can work the ball out, which they tend to do a lot, but then they can also go direct as well at stages.
And to be honest, I think that's one of the major pluses in the modern game. Like if you kind of stick to a short game, I think let's say an opposition can come up with something maybe to stifle that short game and just kind of go with a certain plan. But if you have it in the locker that you can go either or, and that's the beauty of Loughrea, as you said, they're good stickmen, they're all well able to hurl, but they have a serious threat inside. And I heard let's say Vince Morgan's interview after the game, right? And he was kind of saying that even at half time, they were saying they felt inside that they had the beating of their men, and their message was get it into us quick. You know what I mean? So that's what you're saying. So the both sides of that game, of the modern game, is very much in this Loughrea team.
it, it's the thing now, isn't it? Obviously, if you're looking at a lot of these younger players now, Tiernan Killeen, Shane Morgan, Kieran Hanran, all potentially being involved with Galway, but obviously it's not really the focus at the minute.
No, it's not the focus at the minute, and I would say there's no potentially they will be involved with Galway.
Yeah.
I just think that they've been really impressive, and their opportunity will come. Um, and I think that maybe there is a bit of an evolving in the Galway team. I know this conversation isn't about the Galway team, but like I think there's a couple of players there that you could maybe say, right, he's going to be my new number 11 or he's going to be my number 8 or whatever it is, and let's say go with them. And I think that there will be decisions for Michal to make once this club campaign is over. We were saying that it's probably not ideal for Galway and
Yeah.
Waterford that these guys are going to be tied up like for let's say the month of January. You'd probably like to have them early and be building because the league comes up very quick. Once you hit the middle of January, you want to have your kind of ducks in a row, and that's maybe a slight disadvantage for Michal and maybe these guys is that he'll have to kind of maybe plan for the early part of the league without them. But I mean, a great plus that once the club campaign is over, that they'll have these players, both Galway and Waterford, to come back into the setup. Like,
Obviously, Ballygunner now, who Loughrea are going to be playing in the All Ireland final. Are Ballygunner an advantage just with the experience they have at this occasion?
yes, I think so. They're exceptionally well versed in, let's say, these type of occasions. They've been an incredible team for a long number of years now. They will want, and I imagine deep down, really want to put another All Ireland club beside everything that they've done over the last, is it 11 or 12 in a row at this stage or whatever in Waterford. Um, so yeah, they will have that edge. They'll have the Crow Park piece. They'll have all that maybe over Loughrea. But look, at the same time, Loughrea won't fear this. To touch again on Ballygunner, they're very experienced side. Like they've probably comfortably dispatched teams like the Piercy. But I said it was 50-51 minutes. The game was a draw, and then Ballygunner went on to win by 3 points. But they were comfortable in the finish. Like so, they've been finishing their games really strong. I think they're better conditioned and maybe physically fitter this year compared to last year. Jason Ryan has brought maybe something a little bit different, maybe there, and I think that's one of the advantages they have. So they are going to be favourites, and I would probably say rightly so. But there's something about Loughrea that I really like.
Yeah, it's a thing too for Loughrea, isn't it? Yeah, and it's probably a cliche thing to say, but these opportunities just don't come around that often.
They don't. And look, I know they've put two titles together and got like it's very difficult to win the Galway Championship. Like so, one of the advantages the Galway champions have is they're into an Ireland semi-final, so you have to try and make hay. And like the opportunity is knocking for them. Like there's no guarantee that they'll go and win the county championship. You could probably say that Ballygunner will probably go back and win Waterford again next
Mm.
year because they're so dominant down there. But Loughrea will have all the teams around them, as you well know in Galway. They will be plotting Loughrea's downfall, which will make it very difficult. So, yeah, opportunity is now. And as I said, I'm sure that once they get this like sending off dealt with, they will be very focused on what the job is here, and they'll fancy their chances, I think.
It does seem like we're going to be in for a cracking final after Christmas.
Yeah, sometimes I think it'll definitely be a cracking contest, right?
Mm.
I'm not sure. Like Ballygunner, like you saw the first half with the Martins, right? Like
Yeah,
whilst it was intriguing to watch, right? Like 6 points to four at halftime isn't exactly classic material, right? So it might take a bit of working out, and that's what you touched on there about Loughrea's ability to go short when they have to, and then maybe pump the ball long. I think this might be real plus for them that they have this in the locker playing against a team like Ballygunner. Ballygunner's strategy is the same a lot of the time. It's pretty straightforward. Everyone knows, like, let's say Philip will sit and protect the D. You know what I mean? They will filter players back. You know, let's say Peter Hogan and what he does. They will play with Desi and Patrick Fitzgerald up top, but they're really good at it. And once their game kicked in the second half against Martins, they are a formidable outfit when they're motoring.
how do you see the final going?
I've tipped Loughrea to win it. Let's say once we knew the four semi-finalists, I really fancied them against Slaughtneil, and they didn't disappoint me in any way. Um, I hope there's no major distraction with what's going on and it doesn't affect them. But I like their forwards. I like the way they move. They just kind of excite me. There's goals in them. They will need goals to beat Ballygunner, and if they could get maybe the 222, I'd give them a huge chance. And I'm going for them. As I said, I know Ballygunner are favourites and shortish enough favourites, but I like Loughrea. I've liked them from a while out, and I'm going to tip them to win this.
It's hard to believe, TJ. Obviously next week we'll have pre-season competitions back, and Fitzgibbon Cup as well, just around the corner. On the pre-seasons coming back this year, do you think it was the right decision?
I do. I think if you're involved in the management team, like the tendency for county panels is to carry like into 40 players or maybe close to 50 players because you've just looked at the club championship and you don't really know for sure. Let's say you want to bring somebody into the setup, see do they fit in, see where they are in the strength and conditioning, let's say, piece of their game. Can they live in intercounty? And sometimes the pressure might be on in the first round of the league where you mightn't have, let's say, the freedom with a guy that you're just not sure of, right? So the preseason competition for me is a perfect opportunity to give some of those guys game time, give them an opportunity to wear the county jersey and find out where they're at. And you hope then, as a management team, that maybe one or two or three of them will put their hand up to say, you know what, I can live at this level. My conditioning is prepared for what's coming down the track, and I deserve a bit of league time. So I think that the preseason competition gives management teams the opportunity to look.
Yeah, it's challenging now, isn't it? With I know even say the Munster League, you'd have Limerick Cork and you have Fitzgibbon starting the same night as well now.
You will, but I think that with the extended panels, right, that I don't think it's a negative for intercounty teams to have players on the Fitzgibbon. Like you want players playing Fitzgibbon, getting, let's say, cutting their teeth at that level, and you can find out plenty about them there. So I just think that with a bit of management and let's say these S&C coaches now and coaches and managers are really good at watching, let's say, everything they do because everything is recorded, their game time and managing their workload. I just think it's a good opportunity to have a look at the kind of broader side of the panel and kind of get your house in order to see, look, these are my 25, 26 players for the league now going forward. I know I have a couple of players playing for Skibbon Cup, but you know what? I'll get a couple of injuries as well. I'm building. This is what I want to do. Like, the reality is, I'd say management teams will have an idea of how they want to build their team and let's say maybe the spine of the team and stuff like, but they want to maybe have a look at some other players to say, right, could he feature? And I think that you'd like to be maybe pleasantly surprised by a couple. And to me, this is the opportunity you have to look at those players.
It feels like it's going to be one of the most open championships in a long while, is it?
Absolutely. Um, I like there's bits and pieces there. I think I see last night that Rory O'Connor is going travelling. He's a huge loss for Wexford. So like things like injuries or players not available. Like I think the Kyle Hayes situation, I don't think he's going to be available for a lot of the league for Limerick. Now you're hoping that he might get back in time for championship. So those type of things we'll see maybe as the spring goes on. But there's a huge open field to it. I think what Tipperary have done in 2025 is I'd say they've given maybe a kind of a shot to every dressing room, not to say like we wouldn't this time. If you were talking to me here this day last year, we wouldn't have foreseen Tipperary as being All Ireland champions, but
Mm.
they did it. You know, and Liam Cahill, he got his ducks in a row in pre-season, and let's say he knew what he wanted to do. He stuck to the structure that he wanted. He had a couple of little setbacks along the way, but they ran out convincing champions. So it is open. Like Galway played Tipperary in the quarterfinal, and they were well beaten, but there was a period at the start of the second half where they created plenty of chances and just didn't put them on the board. So, like, I would see Galway as an improving team into 2026. I'd like Mihal to think that maybe with some new players coming in and a bit of change, that he can have a rattle at Leinster. I think that that's got to be a real goal for them. They got to put a cup on the table. I don't know where Kilkenny are at in terms of with the possibility of Hugh Lawler and Billy Ryan going away. They're potentially big losses for Kilkenny.
Mm.
And I just think that there might be a Leinster title with an open look about it for, let's say, Galway or maybe a Dublin to come on and say, can we build a bit of confidence here? Dublin, after beating Limerick in the championship last year, we want to win a Leinster title and give another bit of confidence to the team. And I'm sure Galway people in Mihal would love to win a Leinster title because, let's say, it might be a bit of a stretch to be talking about All Ireland's first. Let's go and win a Leinster title and see where you're at. The Munster minefield will not be any different. I don't think there's anybody guaranteed in my book, and that's including the All Ireland champions to come out of the tree. Like I don't know. I'll nearly have to sit in the fence until I see the league to say, to maybe really be confident to say, what, these are the three I fancy. Maybe the common team would be to leave Clare and Waterford out. But, I met Dan Shanahan recently and he was buzzed up. Callum Lyons is back. Ozzy's training. They're trying to get him back in the zone. They'd be huge pluses for them. Jack Fagan is back. I don't think you can confidently leave him out of the tree. And Clare, I don't know. I was asking Dale the other day, like, could we potentially see a new number six in Clare? Like John Conlon had an injury, and maybe could we see a return of him back to the forwards? So these are all the things that are going to be up for discussion as we see the league going on. But yeah, a really open championship. Both Leinster and Munster and overall very open.
Do you see Galway sticking with the Gavin Lee project this year?
I do. I think he's part of the future. I think when you do that, let's say when you're Mihal, I think what the worst thing to do now would be kind of chop and change. What you've got to
Mm.
do with these guys is is there a future with Gavin Lee at 6 and Tiernan Killeen at 11, and then let's say for the next 12 months, or this improves, and gets Galway to where they want to be. I can see merit in it.
Yeah, it does really feel like it's a big year this year because no point of saying otherwise. 25 was a fairly inconsistent year for Galway hurling.
Yeah, and that's what you want to get back. You want to get the confidence up and the consistency up that you deliver a performance day in, day out. And if somebody's better than you to come and beat you, you can probably deal with that. But this kind of up and down, that's what you want to try and get away from. And I'd say all teams would be trying to do that. But like as I said to you this time last year, I wouldn't have seen Tipperary being able to do it, but they did. So I can't rule anybody out with any great certainty.
Does it show the value of the league with the last 2 years? Obviously, I suppose Tip going well in the league last year, getting to the league final and Clare the year before.
If you look at the form of the league over the last number of years, between Limerick and Clare and all these teams winning and Tip getting to the final and Cork and all them, there is nothing wrong with winning the league. It builds confidence. It gives energy to the setup. It kind of gives a kind of a signal that things are going well and people are buying into it. You get a kind of a style of play and getting used to playing with the guys around you. So there is nothing wrong with a really good, strong league run.
You're surely getting hungry now for success as a Limerick supporter again, are you?
Well, so we've had a brilliant run and a brilliant time, but I'd like to think that there's more in this group. We got the positive news that Caroline Curran is back, and even though she's not playing, she seems to be able to get that last little kind of inch or two out of these guys and the management team. So, yeah, we'll be looking forward to it. Like our first two games are Cork and Clare away. So that'll whet the appetite in the championship. Like, but we have a good bit of hurling to do before we get maybe as far as championship, Paul. Like, so I'll be curious to see. Like, Limerick played Carl O'Neill at 6 in a recent challenge game against Tip. Like, so Declan Hannon has retired. Question mark as to whether when Kyle Hayes will get back. Like, so we might see a couple of maybe tweaks and different players playing maybe early on in the league for Limerick. And we'd be hoping maybe we might find somebody left to centre again that can maybe put a bit of pressure on, let's say, the tried and trusted. But those guys have been very good to us now.
Just finally, TJ, on one of the club appointments in Galway, Owen Brislan takes over Turlockmore, did a great job with Mona Lean in Limerick. It's an interesting appointment, isn't it?
It's very interesting. I think he's been in Moline 5 years, and he got them like to the All Ireland final and when they put him intermediate, brought him up to senior B. And now he's brought him up to senior A. They ran Kilmallock really really close in the quarter final. It went to extra time. Um, so he has Moline left Moline in a really good place. They've an awful lot of really good structures and underage players. They, to me, potentially could maybe be another Napier in time with the number of players and the underage talent that they have. And he's been a huge part of that success, Stephanie's coach. Like, so, yeah, it's an interesting appointment, and that's what I said about Loughrea. There's no guarantees because you've got them all these teams chomping at the bit to try and knock them off their perch next year. But you know, when I was up in Galway Championship there, starting off in 2018, 19, I thought the Turlock were coming and they're going to be a force. We're a good number of years down the road, and am I right in saying that Turlockmore haven't won a county title since 1985? And it's
Yeah,
a long time for a club like that. Like, so definitely getting someone like Owen Brislan and what he's done over the last number of years is a big help to them. Like, yeah, so you will be in for another interesting Galway Club Championship. And like the Clarence Bridge are improving, and
yeah,
St Thomas's haven't gone away, and you might even have the All Ireland Club Champions in your championship as well next year. So who knows?
yeah. Hopefully, just before we finish up, a big happy Christmas and happy New Year to all our listeners. And TJ Ryan, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Paul.